My name is Frances, and here's my story. So I wanted to go to this party, like any normal teenage girl, right? My dad probably would have let me go, but my stepmom, she said no way. My mom died when I was little, and my stepmom raised me. She was always nice to me, not like a wicked stepmother or whatever. But my mum's death left me with some anger issues, and it was hard for me to accept my stepmom as a replacement. Whenever she tries to tell me what to do, I still feel a lot of resentment and anger. So when she said no to this party, which was the biggest party of the year, I was furious. I told her, "You're not my mother. You don't get to decide what I do." I guess that was the last straw for her too, because she yelled back that she had a responsibility to keep me safe, and I needed to learn to listen to her. It turned into a huge screaming match, and when I finally stormed off to my room, I was so mad that I couldn't think straight. All I could focus on was how much I wanted to get revenge on her. So I slapped myself as hard as I could across the face. And then I did it again. I kept doing it until my cheek was bruised and swollen. When I looked in the mirror, I couldn't believe the damage I'd done. But I'd barely felt it because of the anger and adrenaline. I ran out of the house and went to the police station. It was weird being inside the station. I started to get nervous under the harsh fluorescent lights, waiting for someone to speak to me. Eventually, an officer asked me what was wrong. I let him look at my cheek and told him my stepmother had hit me. I told him I was afraid of her, afraid to go home. He asked if she'd done this before. That's when I really started to get nervous. I'd only meant to tell one lie, but now he was asking for a whole backstory on my relationship with my stepmom. I panicked and said yes, she'd hit me before, hoping that would make my story more believable. But when he asked for details, I had trouble making up convincing lies. The officer said he would drive me home and speak to my stepmom. My heart was pounding the whole way home. I was starting to think this was a really bad idea. What if my stepmom went to jail? I wanted to scare her, but now it seemed like things were going way too far. My dad answered the door. He looked horrified when he saw my face, and even more horrified when he saw I was with a police officer. I hadn't even thought about how my lie would affect him. I suddenly wanted to call the whole thing off, but I couldn't tell a police officer I'd lied. The officer asked my dad to go elsewhere. He wanted to talk to just my stepmom and me. When my stepmom saw my face, she immediately asked if I was okay and who had done this to me. She sounded so worried that I began to feel sick with guilt. But I had to stay strong. If I admitted my lie, I could be in huge trouble with the cops. So I told her, "Don't play dumb. You did this." Her mouth fell open, and she looked too shocked to speak. The officer explained that I'd claimed she hit me and that she'd done it before. He told us he had to take a charge like this very seriously, so it was very important that we each told the story as truthfully as possible. I could barely breathe. I was so scared. My stepmom looked at me, then at the officer. "I promise you," she said, "I would never hurt this girl for anything in the world. I love her like a daughter." Then my stepmom began to cry and continued, "But she has never loved me." That stunned me. I never realized she felt that way. I had always been kind of resentful of her, sure, but at the same time, I needed a mother figure, and deep down, I loved my stepmom. I knew our fight about the party was a fight I probably would have had with my real mom if she was alive. It was a normal mother-daughter thing to fight about. And the fact that we had fought about it just proved how much like a mother and daughter we were to each other. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid it's too late to do or say anything. I then heard my stepmom talking to my dad on the phone. She said, "I'm not crying because I'm going to jail. I'm crying because Frances never loved me the way I love her." The officer took me aside and told me if there's anything I want to tell him, I can still do so after I take some time relaxing and talking to my stepmom. I started crying again, this time harder, and said that I will talk to him soon. Then he left me alone with my stepmom, and I was so scared she would yell at me or hate me. But I made myself face her, and I told her that I was never able to accept her and that I first loved the idea of her going to jail. I explained that I never wanted anyone but my real mom, but then I said I'm sorry for everything and that I love her. I told her that she has always been a mother to me and I appreciate all her efforts. I hugged her tight and we both just cried. So, I understand that I acted very childishly and selfishly, but I always felt like I am betraying my mother for loving my stepmom. But now I guess I know that my mother is happy that I am loved this way by my stepmom. What did you think of this story? Share your experiences below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.